Welcome back to the Geek Week in Review, episode 28, and this is the last episode of the year, so stay tuned for a jam-packed show.
The Geek Week in Review.
Hello and welcome back to the Geek Week in Review with me, Jacob's Toys, of course, the wonderful one and only SuperSorrell, and of course, Ryan Speaks Geek. This is episode 28, so it is the last show of 2021. What a bizarre year that has been. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like, share, subscribe. Obviously, check the description for the gents' details and give them a follow if you don't already do so. And if you're listening on podcast, then please do keep downloading and sharing. All support on the podcast is really appreciated. So the last show of 2021, we have got so much in store for you. We've got a band, we've got a live performance. We've got we're only joking. It's the exact same thing as we usually do.
We've got a quarantine.
Yeah, we've got a quarantine. We're just going to talk about the things that have happened, obviously the Christmas week, and we're also going to do our top threes of 2021 towards the end of the show. But I think the first thing that we have to tackle is obviously the season finale of the latest MCU television show, which is, of course, Hawkeye.
I've worn a Christmas shirt, even though we're now...
Oh dear, we've lost him again.
Christmas. I felt bad we didn't wear one last. Yeah, so cross the post-Christmas already.
Good.
Oh, you couldn't have lost me already. Did you actually?
Ryan is.
Did it actually go?
Yeah, straight away. As soon as you started talking, it just cut you off.
Oh, God.
It just cut you off. It's all right. We are going to work through. We are going to work through Ryan's internet issues the best that we can.
Jake's sitting there doing a new year, new host. I'm gone.
Yeah, 2021. We want to welcome in Ryan's replacement. No, don't be silly. Don't be silly. Everyone has technical issues, and Ryan's just suffering from them this festive period. But yes, so Hawkeye episode finale. What was it? Episode 6, season finale.
Episode 6. Yeah.
And I must admit, this has probably been one of my favorite Disney Plus shows, like the Marvel shows.
Yep.
And I think the finale definitely delivered. But one of you guys take it away and I'll throw my thoughts in, because you know what my thoughts are with Hawkeye. I absolutely love him. So I could just chat about Hawkeye.
I will just freeze. So Ash, you might as well go, and I'll just occasionally put a soundbite in. That's about 3 conversations too late. So go for it.
I'm just going to cut in previous weeks of Ryan just agreeing with stuff.
Yeah, yes. I agree with your statement.
So Sorrell, you take us away. Come on, season finale.
For me, it was all about Kingpin, Echo, and setting up the future of what we're going to see going forward. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that they didn't write out Hawkeye, to be honest. I thought this was going to be the swan song of Hawkeye, but it doesn't look to be that way. He's accepted Kate as his protege sort of thing. He said, "You're my partner."
Yeah.
And they've definitely set up some seeds for future stuff to go on for that going forward.
Definitely. I got to ask you one question, right? Because obviously it's all about setting things up and stuff. When he gave the Rolex to his wife, and she turned it over, how many of you guys were going, "No way did he call it? No way did he call it?" And then there wasn't any names on the back. But it was interesting. That was the part I wanted to get into talking about first.
Yes.
Just because what do you think that meant?
Well, she's Mockingbird. So it's giving away her shield past, isn't it? It was hiding her identity. I think she did before, back in the days with Black Widow and Hawkeye, when the shield was starting up and they were starting to become the agents of shield and stuff. I think she's obviously done something and been a part of that, and he's protecting her past, basically.
So she's essentially the MCU's version of Mockingbird.
I believe so. I believe that's what that meant.
Yeah, that's what I took from it anyway, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." But and it would explain why she was so.
Theory.
What was your theory, Ryan?
Well, about the Hawkeye becoming the mentor to.
The
new way. That supports her. I don't know why, because now I'm thinking you got the mama, who was definitely Shield. You got the papa, who's the Papa Archer. They've got a farm, which is a perfect place to train a team. A big open space in the middle of nowhere. Clearly, Shield connections, so technology connections. And did anyone else think pick up a really big Home Alone vibe when they were making the trig arrows?
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
it cements my theory. I'm sticking with my theory now that I've seen that she's definitely Shield connected.
Yeah,
But
I think it could work.
Mockingbird's a great shout, man.
I'm thinking that Laura is just a cover name. I think she was like a deep cover agent, a bit like Black Widow kind of thing. And I'm thinking Laura's just a cover name at this point because when they turned the watch over, it had the letter J underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the Shield logo, and they kind of assumed that it was hers. So I'm thinking she's definitely going to be Mockingbird going forward, or at least referenced as being Mockingbird.
And her name is just Laura is just a cover name. That makes sense.
Laura, and the real name's like we'll find out later on. That it's going to be Bobby Morse, isn't it? I believe was the comic book name. I think we're going to see that going forward. I think.
That's a really good shout, actually. That's a really good shout. And I think that's what's the beauty of these kind of television shows is that because obviously she was established as a character and the actress playing Laura and stuff has been around for a long time now. But because of the TV shows, they can easily kind of rewrite stuff by just putting in an extra plot detail or something. So carry on. I'll cut you off.
Did you notice a few things about Kingpin?
Go on.
So he finally got his traditional weapon. He had his proper cane with the jewel topper, which is nice because he didn't use that in Netflix. However, something from Netflix did return, which I think was amazing. They did reference it a little bit. So the cufflink. Did you see the cufflink? Obviously, she used it at the end to flick it. Those cufflinks were from the Netflix TV show because they were the ones that he wore as a reminder of his late father. Those cufflinks.
Ooh,
so
cool.
He wore them all the way through the Netflix TV series, and then obviously when they were fighting her, one fell off, and she used it as the thing to ignite it.
Well spotted.
How many times did you watch it?
I watched it twice.
Magnifying glass on the screen, like.
No, that's really well spotted.
Obviously, the first time I was just kind of like watching it as enjoyment, and then about an hour ago, I sat and watched it before recording this, and I was eagle-eyed. I was like eagle-eyeing it, and I took some notes for the show.
Yeah, that's a really good shout.
I did also laugh as well at the fact that do you notice that when he fell down, he was surrounded by sharks, so he died with the fishes.
Oh no, I didn't.
The old mob phrase of swimming with the fishes. It was.
That's it. Canceling this episode, right, Jake? Let's go and rewatch it again. Make some notes and then come back more informed.
Sorrell, your Easter eggs are on point tonight, mate.
Yeah. A lot of people are mentioning his shirt as well and saying why was he wearing that weird red Hawaiian shirt? It is actually from a comic book. It's a comic book cover from the Amazing Spider-Man's Family Business comic. I had to look that one up, but I sort of recognized the shirt, like the color scheme of red and white. I like he wore that before, and it was a comic book back in the day.
Yeah, see, I was going to say that all of his looks, like throughout it, were very comic book accurate, and that's the thing I took from it. Even the hat, the fedora hat as well. You know that was when he showed up with that.
He's not skipped a beat though. He was still awesome, is it? Like he just straight back into it and straight back to awesome.
Had they oversized him in this? Like, had they made him bigger? Because he looked huge.
Yeah.
When he was in the scene with Kate Bishop's mum, like he looked like humongous. Like he looked really big.
I'm really glad of that because in the Netflix TV series, when he fought Daredevil, it looked okay because Charlie Cox isn't that big of a guy. But when he fought up against Punisher, obviously. I forgot the guy's name that plays Punisher, but he's a bit more built and he's a bit taller. Yeah. And it made Kingpin look a bit too regular, humanish, like too normal. So I'm glad that they scaled him up in this one to make him look ridiculously big because that's how he should appear in the comics. That's how he was.
Yeah, that was one thing about Michael Clarke Duncan's portrayal in it. It was in Daredevil, wasn't it?
Daredevil.
That he was just such a huge bloke that it worked. Like that's what worked.
He was naturally that big, wasn't he?
Just naturally a massive guy. But no, I was glad that they scaled him up. And I was really pleased that the first time we saw him, he was in his kind of traditional, like iconic look, with that cane and everything. But yeah, I just thought, like you say, Ryan, he was just straight back into it. And it was, he hadn't missed a beat of it. And I think, again, without giving away any spoilers, because there will still be people that haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet. Ryan, looking at you. But I think that what is really cool to kind of be going, like finishing off 2021 and getting a call back to some of these like really iconic like
Do you want me to
character
take my
portrayals.
headphones off for a minute and just wave at me when you finish talking about it?
No, because you've seen the trailers. You know that Goblin's in it.
Yeah,
You know Doc
I need
Ock's in it.
teasing, yeah.
You know, but that's Goblin, Doc Ock, Electro, obviously Sandman, Lizard, all from the Spider-Man universe, and then obviously Kingpin as well from the Netflix Daredevil universe.
They're
Just such a
definitely
lovely
listening.
callback.
Yeah, they're definitely like listening to the fans and knowing that we've grown up with these films or we've liked these television series. We don't care if they're linked or not. We still like them. So the fact that they're bringing them into the fold and saying, that the MCU world is a mass, multiverse of things allows them to bring other projects in and cherry pick who they want here and there to, to join the MCU, which I like.
Can you imagine being on the board that day, like sitting at the table and they're going, we need to do this project. We need to do this. Someone just going, has anyone of you heard of the multiverse? Okay, I'm listening. We can basically bring all these actors back in and just call them variants. Okay, I like it. I like it. But that's essentially what they're doing, isn't it? Which is great.
And do you know what, Carl? There's even a part for your tiny pet alligator. I've got one right up here. Right in here. You said you wanted to get him on TV. I will get him on TV.
So what else? Kingpin was obviously awesome.
What did you think of the ending?
Which ending are you talking about? The official ending or the...
No. God, no. So Echo and Kingpin and the way they ended it.
He's not dead. He's not dead.
Well, that's straight out of the comics.
Yeah.
He's straight out of the comics. In the comics, Echo is in that exact same speech as well. It's more or less word for word because I looked up the panels and basically she even kills him off screen in the comic book as well. The comic book pans away just like in the film. And basically she pulls the trigger and in the comic book he goes blind for a while, which is quite cool, obviously, with Matt Murdock and things. And
nice.
He basically goes blind for a while, but then he gets his eyes back from surgery. The dude fits him. So I think they might follow that storyline a little bit. And that I think we might see him again in Echo now. Yeah.
I think there's potential for him to show up anywhere. What was really nice is that callback to the comic, because obviously the difference with comic books is that no one really ever stays dead in comic books. Like even you see a character get killed off, and eventually at some point they come back, or there's another storyline or something like that. But with TV shows and movies, twin. Yeah, exactly. How many times they use that. But with TV shows and movies and stuff, it's a little bit more final when they do stuff like that. So I thought that the fact that they used that particular way of killing him off was really clever, because it concluded the story. It gave her the end of the story. So if you only ever watched Hawkeye, you never went and watched anything else, she got her ending. But obviously he's there to come back if and when he comes back in other TV shows or movies. But it was very cleverly done.
It finishes it off for the people who are just doing the one-off, and then he leaves it open for the people who want more. Yeah.
Where do you think he would show up next, though, if it wasn't for Echo? Because obviously we know the Echo TV show's there.
Oh, I think he's definitely going to have an appearance of some description in She-Hulk, just because of how she's also going to be a lawyer and dealing with the criminal underworld. I think this is going to be like, I think they're setting out their stall with the TV stuff being street level and leaving the films to be the cosmic adventures, because then they're more cinematic and big screen. Whereas they can get away with doing all the street level gangster stuff with the likes of Daredevil, She-Hulk. They can have all them on the little screen and it will work. The cosmic adventures don't work on a big screen.
Maybe it's a bit like the Netflix series, like sort of they're doing like a less dark, same concept but less gritty, I guess would probably be the argument, because obviously there could have been a lot more gritty, darker things. If this was a Netflix Hawkeye series, that someone's arrow would have exploded someone's face off or something like that. So.
I don't know, because I mean, the Winter Soldier and Falcon got pretty dark at points.
Yeah, that's true.
And they tackled a good few subjects of the day, really.
But then think about WandaVision though. Like WandaVision, that was very kind of not street level in the same respect, but it was all very much houses and living rooms, wasn't it? And then they just kind of threw in the special effects as we went. And then the concluding part was obviously big cinematic special effects. So I think it can work, but just not all the way through. Like you wouldn't want a Guardians of the Galaxy television show, but you could have something small, like a Groot on the ship kind of thing. Well, they're doing I Am Groot, aren't they? But that's going to be animated. But I think
the holiday special will do me fine.
Yeah, exactly. They are doing it, aren't they? It is coming.
Yeah.
It is coming.
Next year.
But I think budget-wise, when you think about it, like, you know, the special effects and stuff used in a show like Hawkeye, the budget isn't going to be anywhere near as high as the big cosmic stuff, like you say. So by keeping it street level, they can also spend that money better, because it's bits like the Tracksuit Mafia in Hawkeye, when it just kept coming and kept coming. I was like, how many extras have they got in this scene? Because there was just like van after van, which just looked awesome. But yeah, I think that's a really good shout if they keep it street level. So I think She-Hulk, he could definitely, and they've said that Charlie Cox is obviously going to show up. You know, his Daredevil's definitely going to show up. But do you think they're going to cross their paths as if we know the Netflix stuff has happened, or is this separate?
I think they're going to do like what I said last time, which is basically going to be like, they're not going to say that it's not a part of the storyline, but they're not going to say it is either. I think they're just going to leave it. Like with that Wilson Fisk tonight. Did you need to know anything about the Netflix TV series? No, but it helps having that little bit of back knowledge about him. But
yeah,
it doesn't matter if you didn't see it. So I think it's just a case of, if you've seen it, cool, you know, but you know, more power to you. If not, don't worry, we'll tell you enough.
Yeah,
it might not be the same one.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Was the one thing as well, which it took me. I had to look this one up. It was my brother that pointed this out. So the you know, Jack, he's actually
yeah.
The guy who's dating the mother.
Yeah.
Do you know he's actually an Avenger?
Swords, yeah, he's the swordsman. Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
My brother's like, you know, he's in the comics, right? I'm like, what? He's like, it's swordsman. I'm like, oh wow.
That was going to be my point. Is I was really pleased that he wasn't. I kind of had a feeling he wasn't going to be the bad guy that they were setting him up to be.
Yeah.
And I didn't know whether they were going to tackle that or not. Whether they were just going to kind of set him up, and so I was really pleased at the end where obviously he was cleared, and then he just comes out and just starts taking him out. Because I was like, that's cool. Because even if we never see him again, we've now had like swordsman on the screen. So even if they don't take that character anywhere else, he's in the MCU, which I thought was really cool. Something I totally missed, and this might be because I don't know, but was there a significance to that owl?
The owl, right? Okay, so the story of the owl was in last year in the Christmas tree in New York City. An owl came all the way from, I forgot the country where they get the actual trees from, but an owl was basically in the tree. In the Christmas tree in New York last year. It's nothing to do with Marvel. It was just a news topic thing. An owl was in that tree the other year and got rescued from the tree in New York City.
Oh, so it was just a bit of fun.
It was just a bit of fun. Yeah, it was just a bit of fun based on truth.
You know what? Now you say that, I remember reading about that. I remember because obviously we're friends in New York and stuff, like various bits of news pops up on my news feed. But I remember reading that now, and that's why when I was watching it, I was like, I should know this owl. Like, why? And it was killing me because I was like, why do I not know this owl? Why is this owl significant?
So much more basic. I just went, oh, an owl.
And there's me going, right, significance. And I was thinking back through the Hawkeye comics and like the King, and then the Daredevils, and I was like,
clearly it's so much easier to please, aren't I? Really? Just,
like, oh, look how cute he is.
It was exactly that. I was like, oh, because we had to watch in separate rooms, obviously, with the whole isolation thing. But I was just like shouting at the camera every time something cool happened. I was like, how cool was that? Like, you know, oh, did you see the owl?
It's like 2 minutes behind you or ahead of you. What did you think?
Always and timed it exactly. It was infuriating, but got it.
Amazing. What did you make of Kate Bishop's kind of arc?
Kate Bishop.
Yeah, it was very good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really liked her story. I thought it came, and what I liked as well is they didn't actually kind of give her a definitive path. There wasn't anything laid out, was there? It was, you know, the only hint to the future was the whole name at the end, and he was like, oh, I've got an idea, you know he's going to pass the name Hawkeye over, but there was nothing definitive set out. It wasn't like, oh, we're collecting a group of superhumans or anything like that. It was just open to whatever.
I really wouldn't be surprised if the next thing that got announced was a buddy TV series with Yelena and
they were amazing on screen. They were so enjoyable.
A lot of people have literally, like all of us, everyone's liking those two characters. The sort of back and forth between them would be an amazing buddy cop thing where, you know, she's learning the ropes of the Avengers from Yelena. It would be very funny to do.
And what 100%. I thought was what was good as well is that they were quite well matched, even though one of them was like a Black Widow and one of them was obviously, standard kind of training or whatever, but they were very well matched. So it would be a very even balance as a TV show. But to see them as partners would be incredible. I was kind of hoping that she was going to join the ranks, like, the three of them.
Turn up at the Christmas as well. I actually thought she was going to be there. And I thought they were going to be tell stories about Natasha or something like that. This is your Aunt Natasha's sister, and she's family now. That's what I had in my head was going to happen, and then she didn't turn up.
just everyone, and then Echo. This is also family.
and then Vin Diesel turns up and just like, they're not Avengers, they're family.
But no, I did enjoy their story arc. I really did.
The Hawk and the Furious.
The Hawk and the Furious.
Anything else significant about the episode?
That's everything I picked up.
Yeah. I liked the LARPers when they kind of got their their costume. Yeah, we're pretty much Avengers now. But it was really cool. It made them like cool characters. Like I got a real kind of Warriors 4 vibe from them. The Thor, like when they all came out and they're different. I just thought that was really cool.
It was nice to see a big guy as a hero as well, to be honest. I won't lie. That bit when he did the whole I was like, that's awesome. You need to do that if you've got a big stomach. But it's just nice to see a big hero.
But it would have been nicer as well if they had made his superpower something other than using his stomach. Like it would have been like cool if he had like flipped him over or something.
It worked very well for Asterix and Obelix.
Very true.
Left field reference there, isn't it? Everyone's going like, whoa, what?
That is a real throwback if anyone's remembers them.
So everyone's obviously asking tonight, will there be a second series? That's what the internet's afire with that today, and obviously everyone literally on the internet is saying yes, there should be a second series, but everyone just literally wants it to be the Elena Belova and Kate Bishop show.
Yeah,
it's literally all the internet is saying is them two should be the next to get the TV series like lit.
Yeah, I think what's interesting,
they're all living in, it's like a reality series. Hawk House, they all move into the farm and they all have to get along, but sometimes they don't, and hilarious hijinks ensue.
What would be really interesting though is that Clint Barton, like Jeremy Renner's Clint Barton, like could easily do another TV show because there's no real end. The only concluding part of his story was getting rid of the Ronin costume. Like nothing else there was no door shut.
You're telling me that Kingpin does not want to get revenge against Kate Bishop now? He knows who she is. It's not like she's hidden her identity from him. And she's just kicked the living crap out of him. And you know what I mean? He's going to recover from whatever he's going through with Echo. And then he's going to be hunting down Hawkeye and definitely not.
Clint Barton's going to be the glue of the future of Disney Marvel TV shows. Is my thinking is that he's going to be the glue. He's going to be the Samuel Jackson. That even if he just cameos in the series to recruit someone, I really got my head in this Young Avengers thing, and him being, especially now that we've had his wife now part of Shield, I'm really committed to it because I think he's just so good.
My theory tonight, because obviously all the kind of Young Avengers characters we're seeing have slowly been built up around the TV stuff now. And the way that the MCU is going for the future is very cosmic based. We're going to be looking at Adam Warlock and we're looking at Fantastic Four. So I don't see them having a place in a galactic future when they're just regular humans with just spy powers, shall we say. So I've got a feeling we might see like a new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the Disney Plus generation. And they might try and redo that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of vibe, but with these new characters. So you might see John Walker, what do you call it? See him reprise his role.
Oh, US
Kate
agent.
Bishop, US agent and all that, and see Elena and all these other characters slowly popping up as like the new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of thing. And they might lead into that TV series that we're getting to do with the Skrulls. They might be the ones that hunt down the Skrulls because the Skrulls aren't in the films.
Secret Invasion
series.
That could be cool, actually. Yeah, I didn't think about it because we know nothing about that really, so that could be a really good opportunity.
And obviously Nick Fury can show up on TV as well as being on films and stuff. I see him having a double sort of thing. He's already he appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. anyway, so I mean.
Yeah, exactly. He was the kind of like him and Coulson were the thing that kind of glued it together, weren't they?
And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is MCU as well. It is already MCU. So to bring some of those people back in would be very easily for the bring some fan favorites back, scrap some of the other stuff, and then kind of refresh it.
Bring Quake back. Yeah, that'd be good. One thing that did hit me today though, like when I finished watching it, was that for the past like 10, 11 years with the MCU, you always kind of knew where the person was going to show up next, if that makes sense. So as we were watching films, you were like, you got to the end of Iron Man and you knew that Iron Man was going to show up in the Avengers, if not before. And then they built up Captain America. It's like, well, we know he's going to meet Tony Stark at some point. Even down to the kind of the secondary characters like Sam Wilson and the Winter Soldier and stuff. Whereas at the moment, it feels very much like something ends and you don't know when you're going to see him next. Like, without giving any spoilers away, I don't know when we're going to see Spider-Man next. I don't know when we're going to see Clint Barton next. Don't know when we're going to see Kate Bishop next. Like, there's no really definitive kind of path.
I love that.
It's almost like they've kind of reset the kind of the button that push the reset button, if that makes sense. So it is interesting. Obviously, there's a couple
done it without having to completely reboot the whole franchise. A lot of people just would now go, right, we've done the Avengers stuff as far as it can go. Right, let's just completely reboot and whatever. Yeah. But it's very clever. You're right. It's like
literally the only one that I can put my finger on is Thor. We know he's going to show up in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 before he shows up in his next film. That's the only one I can actually like.
We know that Wanda's going to be in Doctor Strange.
But we only know that now because of the trailer, don't we? Like there was talk about it, but there was no kind of definitive, like her series ended and there was no definite link, was there? There was no.
And we need, obviously, whatever happens with Guardians, Thor must get out of there and to be in his own film. We don't know if any of the Guardians are in his movie, so I'm guessing there's no crossover there.
No.
As far as we're aware.
They come out a month apart, I think. I think Guardians comes out in May. And I
mean, it would be cool if whatever storyline starts in Guardians ends in Thor. That would be very cool as a crossover to be a two-parter almost, and it'd be a complete movie all the way through. But I doubt they'll do that. I very doubt it. I think Thor's there just to be a bit of fun between the Guardians.
Yeah, I think it will be very much like Infinity War Endgame, as in you'll see him kind of exit in one film, and then there'll be nothing else said about him until the beginning of the next film, and then he'll enter, sort of thing. That's not in the same way of falling on a spaceship, but I think however he exits Guardians film, you then won't see him for the rest of the film, and then maybe the post-credit scene will show him returning to Earth or meeting up with Jane Foster or whatever.
Out, won't he? Because he'll be like, Peter Quill will be like, he's still mocking my voice, and they will kick him out the ship, and that's how it happens.
I would like which Guardian of the Galaxy can throw Thor off the ship? Come on, let's be honest.
Drax, if he's invisible.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Only when he's invisible.
But yeah, I think it's a very interesting. I'm really, really excited for 2022 when it comes to the MCU. I think that we've got so much good stuff ahead of us. Obviously, they've given us the title credits, haven't they, for a lot of the things coming out. And Doctor Strange 2 trailer, the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, the trailer officially came out, which is very exciting. I see your little Thor there. Sorrell, come on, get him up. Let's have a look.
I'm just playing with him.
It is cool.
We're talking about Thor, so I can't help it. He's just there, and I love him.
You know what I'm really surprised about as well is how well that head works on a ripped body. Like I didn't think it would cross over that well. So it does look good.
The skin tones are identical as well.
Yeah, it's good. Which
G.I. Joe gung ho body?
Is that the one that has been showing up in places like TK Maxx and stuff? Like. Yeah,
so you can pick him up pretty cheap, and then all you need is because I didn't like the fat Thor. I'm not being funny. I just didn't like it.
Let me see if I can guess what. So obviously the head is the Thor from the fat Thor, brother Thor, whatever you want to call him. Yeah. Is the jacket from? Oh, is that from Thunder? What's his name? Thunderstrike.
Yeah.
What's his name? Is it Thunderstrike?
Thunderstrike. Yeah. Thunderstrike.
Yeah. And then the body is thing, and then the hammer is obviously
from the
just a Thor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so simple.
Very simple kit bash. Very simple kit bash. I was like, in the new year, we're going to do our new TV series where you're going to teach me more about customizing. But for now, I'm just a bit of a kit basher, and I'm very basic at it. I can't do any popping or any arms or anything. So I've just kept the whole body, put a new head on it, and give him some accessories. But it works.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. And if there is a figure of that character in the wave, you need to keep that custom alive until that wave comes out so you can compare them next to each other. Yeah. But yeah, so obviously Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is the trailer that dropped just before Christmas. It was obviously in the theaters with Spiderman No Way Home. And then they've released like a condensed version on YouTube. We talked about this briefly last week, I think it was.
Yeah.
then the figures were released as well. So we don't really know a huge amount more.
Yeah, not really at all.
But I think Spider-Man No Way Home kind of spoiled us because everything was so tight-lipped that we didn't know anything. Whereas they're not going to be able to keep that up with every single film going forward.
No.
The fact that they've released a trailer already shows that they're not going to. So I think we'll, in the coming months, we'll find out lots more about that. So, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited for that.
I think they need it at the moment because the MCU, when it comes to the films, feels very closed door at the moment because Spider-Man isn't really anything to do with what we've seen in the MCU. It's kind of its own thing, and this is kind of coming a full circle of that, to be honest. Whereas the MCU itself is kind of a bit closed door, finished after Endgame. I think a lot of casual fans probably switched off at that point. You've seen Thanos, you've seen the big battle. What else can they do?
I know a lot of people that actually have said that they've not seen any of the new stuff and they're not really in a rush to, which is a shame because it is. I think we've had some absolutely crack-a-lacking new ones. And I'm sort of like, I really loved Shang-Chi. I really, really enjoyed that.
Shang-Chi,
They need to do something. At the moment, we're building up the next generation of characters, aren't we? Because obviously they can't just keep Cap, Thor, Iron Man for 20 years. They've had 10 years of Thor, Cap and Iron Man and stuff. That door is now closed. We're now moving into another generation. They need to build up their stories like they did with the original movies. So it might take a few years for people to get reinterested again.
Yeah. And the thing is as well is that obviously in the comic book, you look at like the Avengers, for example, and people think naturally of the characters that we've already had. But in the comic books, there's so many variations of the Avengers and variations of the lineup. So they could create another team because obviously you got like the likes of like Chongqi's obviously out there.
Avengers.
Yeah, see West Coast was good. But you got Shang-Chi out there. You've got the White Visions out there at the moment. Where's he going to show up? You've obviously got Scarlet Witch. You've got Doctor Strange. You've got Spider-Man. You've got now all these new characters as well that we've been talking about. So there's definitely a crossover build-up. They've got to. That's what made the MCU so successful. I think that everything kind of led to Endgame. So they need to redesign that. Just if it's not broken, don't fix it. So give us another 10 years of Endgame 2.
But also, we've got what I think is going to be a game changer they coming up is we've got Morbius, and I think that's going to be a really different Marvel film, and I think that's going to be a bit of a shake-up. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes or what it potentially leads into.
Yeah, but that's under the Sony bracket, isn't it?
Yeah.
So even though it ties into the MCU, but interesting you should say that. I think that it's like the Sonyverse is now it's the first real competitor for the MCU. Like the DC stuff they tried too much too quick and it didn't work. But the Sonyverse is slowly building up and picking up steam, and that they're going to pull Spider-Man back into it at some point. So the Sonyverse is definitely shaping up to be a real competitor for the MCU moving forward. So I can't wait for Morbius. That's definitely what I'm looking forward to.
Just the awesome use of fleur-de-lis in the trailer as well. I don't know why it just works so well. It makes it so much more creepier and sort of proper Dracula, almost old school Hammer horror feeling. I don't know why, because the minute I hear a classical piece being reused, it reminds me of like proper Hammer horror style a bit.
I really love the Doors, People Are Strange being reused because obviously that's iconically the Lost Boys. So when they put that in and kind of remastered that, I was like, well, this is a vampire film, isn't it?
Yes.
You're using the vampire song. So yeah, no, but it's true what you say, how they use the music. So I think that's about everything for Hawkeye, isn't it? We can't really pick it apart too much more. The only other thing I will say, post-credit scene, what did you make of it?
Fan-bloody-tastic. I didn't know that I wanted it until I saw it, and then I needed it. There is actually a weirdly good, strong comparison for it. So they actually did Toxic Avenger, the musical, which was absolutely incredible. I saw it at the Fringe Festival a couple of years ago, which is based on the Toxic Avenger B movie, the Tromaville one.
Yeah.
And the musical number and the stage design, I had to look up to see if there was any sort of writers linked to it, but I swear they must have seen it because there's just the opening number for the Toxic Avenger the musical is so similar in its staging, tone, everything. I was just like, even me and Caroline were just like, does this really remind you of Toxic Avenger the musical? But I loved it. I thought it was great. What a way to end it! Like not what everyone was expecting, but also to show off obviously bits of it, I did want to know what the rest of the music was like when I saw it in that first episode. I was like, so can we see the whole thing?
Yeah.
It'd be a DVD extra,
would,
wouldn't it? In
I
normal
would not
times,
be
but-
surprised if on Disney Plus we get similar to how they did
Of
Hamilton and stuff like that, that they'll give us the Avengers the musical, because
Of course.
it would sell, it would pull interest, wouldn't it? Like if they put it on there. But I don't know. I was kind of like, for me, I love a post credit scene, and I was kind of like, the whole Merry Christmas from Marvel Studios and that, and then they gave us that, but then I was just a little disappointed there wasn't a real post credit scene, because I was like, what? That was it? Like that was like, that doesn't give me anything. But
You're too spoiled. That's what it is.
Yeah. But that goes way back, because when I was a kid, there was a few films in the 80s and the 90s that had like post credit scenes, and
Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, so you
I'll
would
be
watch
back.
a film.
No, you won't.
Yeah, you never were. Yeah, you
Ferris
fast
Bueller.
forward it, you get through the credits, and yeah, Ferris Bueller. And then you get that kind of reward. So when the MCU started doing it, it was like, yeah, get in there. One of my favorites was, which one was it? Was it Halloween, when Freddy Krueger's hand comes up and pulls that? What was that
Halloween.
It was Jason, wasn't it?
Was it Jason?
It was Jason
Yeah,
Goes
it
to Hell.
was.
It was the end where Freddy's claw comes up, he grabs Jason's mask and drags
That's
it
it, yeah.
under, and you hear Freddy's laugh.
Yeah, and then everyone was like, "Oh my god!" Oh. But
Did
yeah,
you know
so
there was meant to be a crossover between Leprechaun, which is the work dated one, and
where are you going with
Candyman.
this? Yeah,
And
Yeah.
the guy who played Candyman thought it was too much of a cash in and disrespectful to his character, and it probably would have been, to be honest. I mean, they did Leprechaun in 4 in space, I think it was.
and there's a script
the
out there
hood.
as well for something with, I think it's like Freddy, Jason, the Hellraiser, like they threw
From
them
The
all
Walking
together.
Dead and
It's
whatever.
Ash.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, all in all, to conclude Hawkeye, it ended brilliantly. Sorry, Sorrell, what
I
were
was
you
just gonna say what you were saying about that. If you ever actually seen any of it online, the storyline was actually decent. They were going to make out that Jason was one of the like hell demon things that Hellraiser controlled.
Say what they called something bites.
Cenobites.
And that's why Jason
Cenobites.
never dies, because the Hellraiser, they just send him back up. They just keep coming back to life.
Yeah,
And
no,
it was a very good way of explaining it. I liked that.
Yeah, no, it's a good script. It'll get made one day. Let's be honest. It'll get made one day.
Trap Freddy in a little cube.
Scary Pokemon.
I loved the Hellraiser films, and I really enjoyed the book as well. As when I was younger, they were definitely inappropriate for me to read and watch at the time that I did, but I absolutely adored them. I thought they were incredible.
Halloween just gone. They showed the original Hellraiser on the screen again.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It's Clive Barker who wrote the books, and it's the Hellbound Heart. The book's called. Really good book. See, we even do book recommendations here on the gig. Yeah, but there's two films that were originally books that I think the book is a lot better than the film, that aren't normally talked about, and that's Hellraiser or Hellbound Heart and Jaws. If you read the books of those two, they are incredible reads. So there we go.
Jaws.
Jurassic
It
Park.
is. Oh, Jurassic Park. Yeah, of course. Jurassic Park as well. Yeah. The book of Jaws. The book of Jaws is much better than the film, and that says a lot. That says a lot.
Sound religious then, like. And then I went to the Book of Jaws, and he did me the bigger book.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on because we did have a couple of figure leaks or figure reveals. Sorry. But in Star Wars this time instead of anywhere else. Obviously, we talked about the Doctor Strange figures last week. We haven't had anything else from Marvel, but we did get spoiled with a few Star Wars figures.
Not entirely true on the Marvel front as well, by the way.
Not entirely true.
It's just not the line you're expecting. It was the Marvel Legends Retro Collection. The line I really love, but you guys hate.
You know what? I don't hate, because without any prompt anywhere else, I can tell you what the 5 figures were, because I updated my website with them.
Yeah,
it was Wolverine, Phoenix, Fantastic, Mr. Fantastic, Venom, and
we knew about the rest of the wave. It's Falcon, and he's also got his
Falcon with the bird, with Red Wing.
But it's the interesting thing about the reveal was the Wolverine and Phoenix are in the different costumes to that Hasbro PulseCon. Everyone thought it was just going to be, because normally the exclusives have just been repackaged versions, but actually these are different costume versions. So it is actually two complete repaints. Oh,
yeah.
Jake, look
No,
at what's behind you. 95% repaint.
No. 95, mate. These shelves onwards are all repaints. No, I totally get it. I do actually put it on my Marvel Legends archive. I have actually created a subsection for the Ken 375 line because they are cool.
Now shut up, Brian.
No, I've had it on there for a while. Just when they first launched it, back when they did like the Zero series or whatever, I started putting them up there, and then they've churned out a few more. So I've just kept it updated. It's quite easy to update because obviously I only get a few at a time. But I mean, it is, if you're into that line, they are definitely giving you some good characters and some good costumes. There's no denying that.
I will take that. That will be. I'll take that. That will be enough for me.
And I very, very almost pre-ordered the Venom. I'm just gonna say that nearly.
It's very similar to a retro Venom that they released exclusively in America with the Blu-ray in some place.
Yeah,
they did a retro figure edition. It's very similar to that.
Yeah. But anyway, so on to Star Wars, which is another line I don't collect, but hey, I still like talking about it.
So yeah, they gave us 4 new figures. All of them are going to be GameStop exclusives, which is a bummer for the Americans in our audience. But obviously here in the UK, it shouldn't be much of an issue for us. We'll get them from Comics and Cocktails or Kapow or whoever. Surprisingly, though, they gave us 3 TVC ones, but they didn't have the Gaming Great sticker on them for the first time.
Small.
Oh, did they not?
Back. No. All right.
But normally, like the other ones, like the Purge Trooper and some of the others that they gave us did have the Gaming Greats logo on the packaging, as far as I'm aware. This one doesn't have a sticker or anything. It's just the regular, unless that's going to be put in afterwards. This may be just because it were a render that they showed us or wherever, or like a package thing, but early packaging. But there might be a sticker on there, but it doesn't look like they're going to be. And they gave us three troopers, all based on Battlefront 2.
All ARC troopers, aren't they? Just different.
Yeah, all ARC troopers, but we got the Umbra operative.
Is that regular, the yellow and black one?
Yeah, the yellow and black one is the Umbra operative, which they're also giving us in 6-inch as well as 3-inch.
He looked very cool, I'm not going to lie.
And then we've got the regular ARC trooper with just the red dots on his face or whatever. And then you got the other one, which was the Lambert Seeker, I don't know how you say that. But yeah, they're nice looking figures. I'm definitely going to get them. And then of course they got the 6-inch Gaming Greats one as well, which is the same as the ARC Trooper one, but it still looks nice.
It's very interesting. They only did do. I mean, obviously, I'm not a 6-inch collector, but I was still very surprised that they didn't do all 3 in both. It just seemed odd that they did 3 in the TVC, which again I'm not going to complain about. But it seemed odd that considering they're using the same mold for all 3 of the TVC figures, it's interesting they didn't do the same for the Black Series, considering it was just repainting the same figure twice.
Because then they would be releasing 6 figures and people might not buy all 6. So I think when you release 4 like that, you're going to get your 6-inch collectors, your 3-inch collectors. They're all going to mix and match who's going to get what. If you were to release 3 and 3, I think the audience would be very split. Whereas people like me, who's kind of dipping in both like fields, would kind of pick up the 6-inch one because he's on his own and then grab the 3 anyway. Whereas if they put 3 and 3, I'd probably go for the 6 because I'm a majority 6 collector. But because they've done the way they've done it, I'm going to buy all 4.
Yeah, they should just rename the Gaming Greats line the Gaming Great Trooper collection, because there's none of the main characters from the storyline, like the main character from the story of Battlefront 2, which would be awesome, or like TVC. There's no TVC scale for Force Unleashed.
Or after everything we've seen though recently coming up from Star Wars gaming, do you not think they've had this in mind for a while? Because obviously we've got that new Eclipse game coming out. They're definitely going to want to release toys for that. They could shove them all under the Gaming Greats logo. They've got that new the Star Wars The Old Republic's coming back. So they're going to flood us with Revan different costumes and things.
Yeah.
So they've definitely thought about this for a while, I think.
Finally,
I just think they should have just jumped into it really with the Gaming Greats. They should have just jumped into it really hard though and given us all the main characters like Starkiller, for example. As soon as they gave us that Gaming Greats label, they should have just churned out like Iron Man. They should have just given us all the different versions of Starkiller, because even as someone that doesn't collect Star Wars figures anymore, I still would have picked up at least one version of them just because of the callback to the game.
And I can never remember her name. Who's the villain from that game? That shot. She's like all in black, isn't she? With the You imagine if they released her in a 6-inch Black Series figure. Oh my god, she'd look awesome.
Oh, what? Do you know Eclipse? The
Is that her name?
You
Yeah,
talking about the
I
auxiliary
don't
officer?
remember.
Yeah, the villain. She's got the red lightsaber and she holds it sort of behind her back, doesn't she? Like upright.
Oh,
a bit like
that's
Ahsoka.
Maris Brood.
Maris Brood. There you go. So yeah,
Okay.
she'd be amazing in the Black series.
Yeah, I'm such a
I
nerd.
haven't played that game in ages.
Ryan, just a self-realization there. Oh my god, I'm such a nerd.
And like the guy from the Jedi Master from the game who goes blind and stuff, they could have released like two variants of him very easily. Just put a piece of cloth over his eyes and re-release him.
Yeah, it's like, and I think that's one of the like. Disclaimer: I love Hasbro. I love what they do. no, but I mean the Star
Can we
Wars
just
team
have that on a little ticker that goes across the bottom all the time?
just
Hasbro,
disclaimer. But I think one of the reasons, because I did collect Star Wars, I was into my Star Wars, and I must have had 150 of the figures, but to get kind of that many into a collection and then decide to get out, it was because it just almost felt like there was different people kind of choosing what was released each time. There was no it didn't feel like there was any real continuity, and it was kind of like, you know what, do a gaming greats, but give us the great characters from the game. Don't just give us the background characters, because not everyone is a completionist and not everyone wants to, you know, build up loads. I mean, originally when I got into the Star Wars line, I just wanted to get Jedi and Sith. That was like a lot of people. I go, you know what, I'm going to get Jedi and Sith, but then you do creep in and it's kind of, oh, well, I need to get the kind of original characters, and I need to get, oh, well, if I've got that clone, then I need to get, and you know, and oh, if I've got him, I need this, and if I've got a clone, you know, clone commander, I need to get a couple of, and it just builds and builds and builds. But I think if they'd given us, exactly, but if they'd given us, if there was more strategic with the figures that they released, because it can't be a licensing issue, because obviously a lot of the property for Star Wars is so old now, like, you know, that the older
Disney
stuff
owns
anyway.
them all anyway. It doesn't matter. LucasArts is owned by Disney anyway, which is what all the games were released on originally.
But of course, yeah. So there we go. So it's not even a licensing or a property issue, but it's it just seems like it's almost like there was like half a dozen people that work on the production of what they're going to choose, and they rotate. So it's like, oh, I'm going to do these clone troopers because I really like clone troopers, and then, well, actually, I'm going to do this. Like, so then they needed to have more continuity, and then I think I would have stuck with it. But
yeah, because I know a couple people, like I've said online, that, you know, they didn't buy the Purge Trooper in the vintage collection Gaming Grace because they said they don't have anyone to fight him.
No,
because like Cal Kestis is literally the person who fights him. No other character has fought a Purge Trooper in canon so far, I think, to my knowledge. But you know, especially, but you know, if it's for the Gaming Greats line, you want the person versus the game villain.
Yeah,
you know? It'd be like releasing only Dr. Robotnik, but not Sonic.
Yeah, but that's one thing that I must admit the Marvel guys do well, is that when they release a wave, it's either predominantly one thing, so like Age of Ultron or Shang-Chi or whatever. No, Shang-Chi wasn't his mix, but Age of Ultron, not Age of Ultron, Age of Apocalypse, sorry, or Eternals, or there's enough in it. So, you know, in the recent one with the Spider-Man No Way Home, we had like 4 Spider-Man No Way Home characters, 2 comic book characters, and then Miles Morales gaming greats. So it works as a wave because you can pick it up or you can dip in. Whereas, you know, if you were only picking up No Way Home figures, you could go in and go, well, actually, I want Doctor Strange and I want Spider-Man. Boom, done it, tied in with a movie, happy days. Whereas with the Star Wars stuff, it seems so randomly picked that I hope it kind of streamlines a little bit when the new games come out.
My thoughts on it, and I'm again, disclaimer: love Hasbro, think they're awesome, but I always find that Marvel Legends is run by fans. Star Wars is run by executives.
Yeah,
that's my feeling on it. That's how I feel. The Marvel Legends guy.
SuperSorrell dropped by Hasbro.
Oh, mate, I've got a video coming out in the new year, and they probably are because I'm ripping into it a little bit. But I've got a rant video in the new year all about pre-ordering, and I'm going to ruffle some feathers. But anyway, that's a different story for a different day. I was fine with Star Wars. It is very much a case of, we know we can sell a load of troopers. We already have the mold. Let's repaint it 1,000 times and use the mold, which it's a business. I get it. They want to make money. I understand. But when you watch the Marvel Legends guys, they seem to get so excited when they're on live stream talking about these things. I don't see that same level of excitement out of the guys at the Star Wars thing. They're all just sat sort of until it's their turn to talk. Whereas the Marvel guys bounce off one another and they seem genuinely like friends.
You know what? The first time that I the first sort of Hasbro group, because you've got quite a few now, haven't you? You've got Marvel, you've got Star Wars, you've got Power Rangers, you've got Transformers, you've got Ghostbusters. You've got G.I. Joe. And on the Hasbro PulseCon, the only other team that really kind of oozed that kind of fandom for me was Ghostbusters. Like, they genuinely seemed like real fans of the brand. And the others had it from time to time. But yeah, the Ghostbusters guys I thought were really, like, their little intro about
lovely, but they didn't
pack.
have the charisma thing, you know, like
It's yeah. But the way they recreated the advert for the Ghostbusters and stuff, I was just like, that's the kind of stupid thing I would do. I'd be like, right, we're launching this, so let's pretend, let's do this. But yeah, so I don't know.
Actually, we did do that stupid thing. We did that in the beginning of one of the Geek Weeks.
Yeah, we did. There we go. we did that thing. So yeah. Anything else figure wise?
That was kind of it. Neca did give us a little bit of news. The Concrete Jungle Predator's coming. It looks pretty badass, but they've only given us the one little image tease. But more on that as it develops. But yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well. I was kind of expecting a leak or two, kind of pre-Christmas, but yeah, nothing. So yeah, not a time of filming anyway. Not a time of filming. So yeah, cool. Okay, all right. Let's move into our kind of Geek Year in Review segment then, because obviously we don't want to overrun our time slot too much, but we do want to obviously have a look back at the year. So 2021, obviously it's been a bit of a rough year. There's been various different things happening, but for geeks, it's been quite a good one. You know, we had things like the birth of Disney Plus, where they kind of obviously gave us a load of Marvel TV shows, Star Wars TV shows, etc. We've had figure after figure.
We can review.
Figure. Well, the Geek Week in Review in itself. We started this in 2021. So and then obviously Ryan joined us as well. So we did start our podcast, which is cool. But yeah, we've had, I think what's really nice is, even though it's been a weird place kind of out there, for us collectors, we've been overly spoiled. You know, all of the Hasbro brands, for example, have gone from strength to strength, and to the extent where every single one of them launched a HasLab project at Hasbro PulseCon. Fair enough, they didn't all make it. Rancor, I'm looking at you, but they all still launched it. But so yeah, so I think we've been spoiled. So let's take a look back. At 2021. After our live band performs this year's top hit. No, only joking. So yeah, so we're going to take a look at...
about your Rancor. It wasn't done properly. Sorry.
Ryan Speaks Geek the musical, coming to no theaters nowhere ever. Right, so we're going to look at Disney Plus moments. We're going to look at movies, and we're going to look at figures.
My music will be at the end of Book of Boba Fett. Don't worry about it.
Oh, see, that was what. Right, wait, Sorrell. Out of the three categories, which one are we going to start on?
Let's start with, I think, Disney Plus moments, then work his way up to figures, then movies, because we all know what the movie of the year is going to be. Let's be brutally honest.
Okay, cool.
It's going to be different because I haven't seen it.
Clifford the Big Red Dog takes top spot. Right, so Disney Plus moments. So should we all do our third, and then second, and then first?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. When you say moment, I'll go last, because mine could go two ways depending on what's said. So
I've done it as like the thing that I saw on Disney Plus that I enjoyed. So it's the TV series that are on there, but like the things about the thing. Like, does that make sense? So like my third choice would be the Haunted Mansion Muppets. I'm a big fan of the Haunted Mansion. The fact that they made a special with the Muppets. The Muppets have been out of action for a little while after the sequel didn't do as well as the reboot. But it's nice to see them still using the Muppets, and it's a great crossover with the Haunted Mansion. And I thought the song that they released in time for Halloween was perfect as well. I really enjoyed that. So that was my third on the list of Disney Plus moments for this year.
Ryan?
My third one was Owen Wilson in Loki. Just an absolute delight. Unexpected casting.
Wow.
But it was like, oh wow. Well, the timelines are split. It's like everyone's walking and talking, and wow, like, it's just great. Like, you know, I genuinely, I actually loved his character. I wasn't expecting him to be good. I know it sounds really mean. No offense to Owen Wilson, because obviously he watches this and takes notes. But just genuinely, I wasn't expecting anything from it, and I actually think he was my favorite character in the whole Loki thing. And I was genuinely, when I thought his character had actually been killed off, was genuinely gutted. Like, I actually, when you're like, oh, I really thought that. So yeah, that's my number 3.
You know what? Interestingly enough, my number 3 is also from Loki. But it was the inclusion of the variants when we first got the variants, because obviously we're spoiled now with the idea of the multiverse, but we were first really introduced to it in Loki, and they kind of delved deep. But more specifically, Richard E. Grant being cast as kind of classic Loki. I just thought that was so good to watch. And I'd forgotten that he was cast on the show until he showed up, because obviously they mentioned him quite a few months before, and I completely forgotten he was cast until he showed up. But I just thought, no one could pull off the unflattering spandex like original costume in such a bad way that it was brilliant. Better than Richard E. Grant. So that was my number 3 moment.
Cool. My number 2 moment was, and I've spoke to you guys about it in chat so many times now, but as ridiculous as it was, the 15 to 20 minute dinner scene between Kate Bishop and Yelena. As good as Hawkeye and that was, and the rest of the Loki stuff, just that stupid 15-minute conversation of, you like macaroni? I made macaroni. That accent was just brilliant.
You want
I went Italian then. But yeah, the bit with the hot sauce. The bit with the hot sauce was brilliant.
Yeah.
Can I go now? How much hot sauce on that bastard? But yeah, I just love that. It was a silly scene, but I liked it, and it got a point. It got across both their characters and what they stand for, and the fact that they do have like a friendship enemy kind of friendship. I like the balance between the two. Yeah, and I hope they do more of it.
Ryan,
that was actually my number 2 as well.
No way.
Genuinely, yeah, because again, similar thing. I genuinely laughed aloud and just thought I actually wanted instantly to go rewatch it and just go, I can actually watch a lot more of this as well. And it just, like I said, I got really excited by it. I was like, oh, I really want to see more of these. This has worked so well. It was so funny. Brilliant.
Yeah. It was just the bit where she sat there and she's going, I don't have any weapons on me. No, that's a lie.
Yeah.
I don't have them in their hands. Oh, so a lie.
And also like the piss taking of like having only one fork and just like all of it, just all the little, it's weird because it was like, and with the accent and just Kate Bishop every time. I can't now say her name without in my head being like Kate Bishop.
No.
Absolutely loved it.
So my number 2 was a slight variation. It's not to do with Hawkeye, but it was actually to do with WandaVision. So I think WandaVision's kind of forgotten about because it was so huge at the time when it came out. You got to remember that came out right in the middle of kind of the lockdown, and the internet went absolutely mad for it, didn't it? And the theories, and every week that the episode, every week an episode went by, I don't think I've ever seen so many theories popping up over the internet on things like TikTok and stuff. So I really loved that element of it. But my specific moment was when we finally saw Wanda become Scarlet Witch, because obviously so many people wanted it. And she always said that she wouldn't wear like the traditional costume originally. And then obviously we saw it as the Halloween costume, but then later on we were spoiled by actually seeing it as a main costume. But there were so many elements of that show, seeing White Vision for the first time, seeing her as Scarlet Witch, obviously Agatha Harkness and stuff. So, and all the internet conspiracies that went with it. So that was my number 2.
Mephisto.
You know that.
My number 1 is actually WandaVision. But it was specifically the return of Pietrov. We all thought it was going to be the X-Men universe version of Quicksilver, and it just wasn't. And it was just that build-up of everyone. When you saw him at the door, the internet just blew up that night, didn't it? It was just, I loved that whole, they played us so well with that. They knew that the internet was going to go mental for that. And I love that moment. It was a great moment. And the Halloween episode in general, like I say, the Halloween episode was brilliant.
Yeah, very, very good.
It was a close call for me because it was between that, but I also loved the conversation between the two visions when they were talking about the ship of Theseus and the sort of philosophical conversation they had. If you remove the planks and replace them, is it still the ship of Theseus? I love that concept that he was trying to plant that seed in the new vision's mind, and are you still the vision without the memories of the vision kind of thing.
he had some incredible lines in that show. The whole, what is grief if not love persevering? Like, just absolutely brilliant lines in there. It was so well written.
And the fact that
think right now, because Paul Bettany's beautiful in that film, and I'm really thinking of it.
And the fact that they just recently released those Marvel Legends figures, giving us the classic versions of both Wanda and Vision in that white from the comics. And I'm really excited to see where they go with Vision's character from here, and if he'll get his memories back, or what they're going to do with him, where he's going to show up next.
Yeah. Doctor Strange too.
Maybe. We don't know. Is he going to be in it?
Wanda's there, so who knows? Ryan, what's your number one?
My number one was Bad Batch. Just all of Bad Batch. It's no secret, I absolutely love Star Wars so much. And to have Star Wars weekly is just one of the greatest things ever. And I don't care what people say. People will moan about and poke holes over. But the thing about Bad Batch is, though, I genuinely got really excited. It was something I wasn't bothered about, but then became very excited waiting each week for the next episode. Like, genuinely, I've got a very dear friend of mine, Dave. We would sort of message each other, being like, "Have you seen it? Have you seen it?" Like, just it was like being kids again. And I really, essentially, during this year, I really needed that kind of little proper, like a kid feeling, like getting excited for Star Wars every week. And I really loved the story arc. I loved the way it ended. I loved the really clever sort of evolution from Clone Wars era to sort of Empire era. And you really, because you don't see that as much. Rebels showed a bit of it where they cleverly used like the most Ralph McQuarrie designs for the Imperials sort of network, but this one you really do literally see from Bad Batch. If you watch it from the first season and the second season together, you see it from this second the Clone Wars Order 66 happens to this group being shafted, and so it's really interesting. You get a rare glimpse into a time that we don't really get to see anywhere else, and I really just absolutely loved it. Couldn't fault it. I really enjoyed it.
That's really interesting you say that, because Bad Batch didn't come anywhere near my top three, but the crossover between Clone Wars into Bad Batch to me was really good. And like for me it was the opposite. Like I jumped in at the beginning and was incredibly excited and trailed off because it didn't match for me. It didn't hit the level that it did, but I'm really pleased that it did for fans like yourself. But then you're so Star Warsy that makes me sick.
I'm kind of the same, but I'm a big Star Wars fan. But even for me, if it wasn't for doing this show with you guys, I probably wouldn't have watched most of that series. I kind of persevered with it because I knew I was going to talk about it with you guys. So I kind of stayed with it just for the Geek Week in Review chats more than anything, and to hope it picked up towards the end. But yeah, I trailed off too about midway through.
So this show is creating viewings for no, but no, I'm really pleased that that's number one. For me, my number one moment was I don't want to say just Hawkeye in general, but Hawkeye in general. No, for me, getting a Hawkeye television show was massive, because obviously all of the original Avengers have had their story, and obviously we've known about a Black Widow film in the works for a long time now, and then obviously it's delayed, etc. And Hawkeye was the only one that was kind of almost forgotten about, and I was kind of, they were never going to make a movie about Hawkeye, but there's that joke of him not really being as cool as the other Avengers. But then when I found out that he was actually getting the TV show, I was like, yes, we're going to get that continuation or whatever. But more specifically, and it also ties in, I think, to WandaVision, is that what really made it my top moment was them bringing in Vincent D'Onofrio from the Netflix show and actually making that connection there. And similar to what you say about Ralph Boner, like the WandaVision crossed over into that other universe of characters that we know and brought them into the MCU. But that, penultimate episode where you see the clip of Kingpin, you see the name in the credits, I was like, yes, they've actually done it. They've created that bridge from what we love to what we've got now, sort of thing. So that was my top moment. But Hawkeye in general as a TV show was just my top moment of the year. But then I might be a bit biased because it's only just finished, so it's naturally at the top of my list. But no, I loved it, and I loved it from beginning to end. There wasn't an episode that I fell off on, and I think that a lot of the other Disney Plus shows, with Marvel shows anyway, have had that one episode or that half an episode that you kind of went, that was, they could have got away with not doing that, or I could have gone without seeing that bit. But I felt that Hawkeye was episode to episode was just strong, like every single time.
It was consistently good.
I think they found a formula with the 6-episode formula that it was enough that they got away with doing a few little small quiet bits, but the series was, because it was only 6 episodes, was action packed from start to finish. Yeah, and obviously, like Wanda and things. How many was that? 10 episodes, 12 episodes, or something. Wanda had quite a few, so there was a lot of time to fill in Wanda. They did have those moments, like the thing with the magic show. And as funny as it was, he didn't need it. The story didn't require it. It wasn't until the very end that you see what happened anyway and why that was all going on. So I mean, they could have done with a few, like getting rid of a few of those moments to make it snappier. And I think they finally found that with Hawkeye. They found that level of where they need to go speed wise with these series. Yeah,
but I just thought.
I can't remember who called it, by the way, about it being a longer episode for the final one. Who called it last week? It might have been you, Ash. You said like
Sorrell.
The longer
There's
episode.
a lot to cover. Yeah, there was still a lot to cover for just that hour, wasn't there? Really, there was still a lot. Yeah. But I'm glad they've left it the way they have. It's left it a very open story. There's no ending there. There's no finale. It was just things have happened. They've built up, and now where does it go from here? I like that.
I just thought that neat, is it? So that makes sense.
I thought it was a really strong close of the year for the Marvel TV shows, that they had a really strong full six strong episodes from the TV show. Everyone loved it. Brought back characters that we didn't know were going to come back, and obviously gave us new ones as well. So that would be mine. So Hawkeye in general, but more specifically bringing in Kingpin. Cool. All right. So not bad, and quite different as well. Quite different. Anyone crossover there? So
I was really gutted because when I was doing my 3, I was gutted to find out that Mandalorian season 2 was actually 2020. I thought that was this year. It was November of 2020 because I wanted to say Ahsoka, but I couldn't.
I looked up the exact same thing and had the exact same thing. I really thought it was this year, but then I questioned myself because no, I'm pretty sure I was watching it like with Christmas decorations up or something. But then I was like, shit.
Yeah, I only knew that because we have a Christmas. We got like a bauble. It's one of them Lego baubles, and every year I put something different in it. And last year I put the Black Series Grogu in it. And this year, interestingly enough, my son put his Lego Mandalorian Grogu in it. So I was like, I'll let it slide. Like we don't do 2 things consecutive years, but I'll let it slide this time. So let's go on to figures while we're talking about that. So top 3 figures. So I'm not even sure about this anymore.
Yours all Marvel.
Mine are all Marvel. I'm not even going to lie. Mine are all Marvel. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. I'll start off then. So my third top figure was the unpopular opinion. It was the Pulse exclusive Venom figure, the retro Spider-Man carded Venom figure. And it was hit with a lot of criticism when it was first announced because of like peg holes it had on its shoulders and stuff. But when you actually get that figure in hand, it's kind of everything we wanted a comic version of Venom to be. It was bigger, it was bulkier, it had the right parts on the eyes, it had the right lips, the cell shading on it was really nice. And it was interestingly the part, because of the cell shading, I was put off by it originally. And then I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to go for it because of what it is. And when I actually got it, I was like, actually, that's a real selling point for me. It's the kind of one that if I'd seen it on the shelf, I would have picked it up without hesitation. And it photographs really nice. So yeah, so interestingly enough, Venom, retro Spider-Man card, Venom, Pulse exclusive was my number 3.
Awesome. My number 3 was Neca Frankenstein. So the fact that obviously I know it was announced the previous year, but we got it in hand this year. And the actual Neca Frankenstein, I didn't think I was going to like the black and white one. I was more looking forward to the colored version one. But the more I've seen the black and white one, like playing around with it with dioramas and things, I like that Universal monster in black and white because that's how I remember them as a kid. I didn't see them in color, when they got re-released in the colored versions. All the years later when they digitally re-rendered them. I remember watching them in the old black and white. So to get that Frankenstein in the proper grey scale just felt right. And I've had a lot of fun with that figure this year. As much as the Jada Toys ones are nice, I'm hoping that we continue to see the NECA releases come in color and black and white because I would like a full collection of them in black and white now.
Yeah, that'd be
that
nice.
could look really good all lit up and everything. That would look awesome.
Plus, when you take a photo of it, like on some of my dioramas, when you grayscale the diorama as well, it just looks cool having it a black and white Frankenstein photo. It just looks good.
What? Some of the, just going to sidetrack a little bit while you're talking about it, but some of my favorite pictures to take, like maybe 2020, were the Jim Lee Blue Line DC figures. You know, the black and white ones. Get yourself like a grayscale printed background and take the picture in color, but with everything grayscale, and it looks so crisp. And so those pictures I took of that were in color, but because everything on it was black and white, there's just something good about it. So get like a black and white printout or something and do a picture, because I think it would look awesome.
Will do.
Yeah. So there we go. Just I'm excited. I love figures that are not traditionally colored. Like, I think they look brilliant. Like, and there's so much possibility with it. So sorry, Ryan, your turn, number 3.
I've totally cheated on this because I'm a nightmare. It's a joint figure lines, actually. It's full on retro 3 3/4 inch. So it's joint for the retro Marvel line and the retro Mandalorian line. It's a joint. I love them both equally. I think retro play is back in a big way. I know, we all joke about it, but do you know what? I am obviously the target audience for it, and it satisfies everything I want it to out of that sort of thing. It was the Mandalorian series. I mean, the series 2 looks amazing, but the series 1 of figures we got was great. It really showed that you could do a modern Star Wars series in that old kind of style, which works really well. And similar effect with the retros. I thought the same thing. I just like, it was so good to see modern vintage. I really love that aesthetic, that vintage feel. That is my sort of nostalgia thing, and I do collect for both display and for nostalgia purposes, rather than like, I've never been one big one for posability and things like that. That's not important to me, because that's not what I sort of collect for. So to see that, it was nice, because it's something that I really thought was quite dead and gone, to be honest, and purely in the fans' hands. It was really lovely to see Hasbro actually go, okay, actually I think fans want this, and go, boom, done.
I think as well, when we get the sort of Return of the Jedi anniversary coming round, I think they're going to have a lot of fun with that line. If they don't go full scale for the Ewoks and even redo the village, maybe, that would be an amazing playset for them to revisit, because everyone loves the village. Most people say the village is like the thing that they collect, that they want back in their collections.
Yeah,
I could see a HasLab for a village, you know.
Oh yes, and the HasLab retro. Oh yes.
I think they're the Star Wars Black Series stuff's going to have to go for a definite fan favorite to pull back from the Rancor. So I think the Ewok Village would be if they don't do that, that would be a missed opportunity. Totally missed
Especially
opportunity.
with Return of the Jedi slowly coming into its 40th now as well. They're sneaking it in there.
That would be really clever. Cool.
Number
Okay.
2.
So my number 2 is a Build-A-Figure from Marvel Legends again. And interestingly enough, it's the Watcher figure, Build-A-Figure Watcher. Just because I think because the Watcher was such a sought after figure, because obviously we've only had it as Diamond Select previously. And interestingly enough, the Diamond Select came back on pre-order everywhere, like earlier this year, due to be shipped out in October. And it's just not surfaced. It's just, you know, no one has kind of chased up about that. No one's kind of like, so my £1.50 deposit or whatever it was is just floating around somewhere. But obviously they gave us the Disney Plus What If version. And initially I was kind of a little bit like, I don't really want that Watcher. I want the comic book Watcher. But what's really nice is that he's really flexible. Like, you put him next to your comic book characters and it works, and you put him next to your Disney Plus like What If characters and he works as well. But for a figure that's got very little posability, because he's not very articulated, he's actually a really nice figure to have. So that's my number 2, the Build-A-Figure Watcher.
My number 2 is Jackson from the Black Series. Just a character that I never thought
the
we would
rabbit.
ever see. The rabbit. That nobody asked for, nobody wanted except me. That was a character I just never thought we'd ever see the light of day again. It was something from my childhood. I remember the comics. I remember him being in the comics. I remember the famed photo of Jackson pushing on the door, trying to listen in, and you've got like, Han Solo and Princess Leia on the other side of it, holding it shut.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I thought we'd never see Jackson again. And when they re-released him, and he's been slowly creeping into the children's Galaxy of Adventures kind of tales, and I don't know, I could see them using him for a Disney Plus cartoon series. I could see it happening. He would definitely work for the kids.
Oh, 100%.
That would be a good shout,
really
I think.
well.
Even if they took it seriously and did it as like Clone War style, I think just the fact that it's a stupid green rabbit in space would sell. It's clearly a Bucky O'Hare ripoff, but
but the merchandise,
no ordinary rabbit would dare. Yeah.
The merchandise they could get out of that as well, like backpacks and lunch boxes and all sorts.
Yep. I'm surprised they haven't used them a lot more already. But yeah, it's one figures that you just never thought you'd see. And it's nice to have him in, and the fact they took it seriously when they made it as well. It looks really good. It looks like it belongs in the line. It doesn't stand out as a ridiculous bunny rabbit. It actually blends in with the figure line. So they did a good job with that one.
Yeah, good shout.
My number 2 is it is the whole Studio Series 86 line again.
Right.
I narrowed it down to one. I've narrowed it down to one.
Okay. We picked a figure, Ryan picked a line.
Because it's hard when a whole line is particularly awesome and brings something new to a franchise that's been going on for so long. You got to appreciate it. This is Studio Series 86 Retcar. Like I said, I love the whole Studio Series 86 because the movie, that's the definitive Transformers movie for me. It still is when I was a kid. But these look exactly. These are what I would probably equate to being the Marvel Legends of Transformers, because they are all scaled to go together scale-wise. The detail is incredible. The articulation is incredible. The transformation is spot on. The vehicle modes look just like the cartoon, as does the actual bot mode. And I think that's really unusual. And the fact they've got these great cinematic backdrops in the boxes, so they're very collectible in that sense as well. They've just ticked every single box they can. Hasbro have blown it out of the water with these Studio Series 86 line. So there you go. That's my number 2.
Nice. What is that? Is it on to me now?
Yep.
What's your number 1, Jake?
My number 1. I almost feel embarrassed saying it, to be honest with you. But
it's your vintage Spider-Man again, isn't it? Oh.
No.
Oh, it's a Spider-Man.
It's the integrated suit from Spider-Man. I don't know. I have another version that's out of the box. I'm not an inbox collector, but I've got 2. But I don't know. It was just when they redid this one, when they did the upgraded suit, there was something just so aesthetically pleasing about him, and he just worked. And having seen the integrated suit on the screen, I absolutely loved it. I loved the design of it. I loved everything about it, and the figure just kind of ticks all the boxes for me. He's really nice to pose. He's really nice to photograph. So when I was thinking about it, and I know that it's one of the most recent figures I've got, and so naturally I'm going to favor it over some of my older ones. But then as I was thinking back to other figures throughout the year, I could pull them apart. I could pull flaws. Like, for example, the White Vision that we were talking about from the Disney Plus show. I absolutely loved it when it came out. Absolutely adored it. I thought it was such a cool to have Vision in white. But then there were so many bits about him that didn't match up to the way he was depicted in the show. There was things that were off and things that were not done correctly, like his cape and stuff. Whereas the integrated suit, it literally looks like it does on the screen. So that would go in at number 1. As a Spider-Man fan, to have Spider-Man's latest outfit in figure form just before the year ends, perfect. So that's my number 1. Sorry.
No, not at all. Good choice. And I love your reasoning behind it as well.
I had a proper battle on in my head as what I wanted as number 1. I liked the MCU WandaVision for this year. I enjoyed that entire wave. Captain Carter was a very close second. The new Doctor Strange Supreme, even as stupid as it sounds, the Mr. Hyde Bath figure I think was amazing this year. But the one that I'm settling on, and it shouldn't be a surprise, obviously, is Mastermind. Just because of the whole, I got invited to reveal that figure as an X-Men fan and as a massive fan of the animated series. That episode always stood, is one of my favorites. And the fact that I got to reveal that figure and do Jason Grade, I'm blown away with that. And obviously that's my number 1 pick for this year for obvious reasons. That character's going to have a permanent fixture on my display forever.
Yeah. No, definitely. I remember that video dropping as well. Like it was like because yours was the first, wasn't it? Maybe was it the first or maybe the second? But it was just like all of a sudden everyone was like, SuperSorrell's revealing again. It was like it was almost like when there's the two kids are fighting quick and everyone runs over. It was like
Fwoosh did his first, and then it was at the end of his video because he did Callisto, didn't he? First, I believe it was Callisto.
That's
first.
right, of course, yeah.
And then at the end of his video, he must have known. I don't know. I felt like he knew or he had a good guess because obviously you wouldn't just release that Callisto as a single figure, and he went. I wonder if any more of these will pop up, and that's how he ended the video. And then the next day, I'm like, guys.
Yeah, it was just. I just remember everyone in the group just like, quick, everyone, look. Sorrell's revealed a figure, and it's like it was this internet running over to the gate to watch. But yeah, no, of course, obvious choice.
It was an absolute buzz doing that because we all knew in advance we were doing it. We couldn't tell anybody because they were like really strict about it. And the guys at the studio, at Marvel Legends were like, guys, really, can you keep this secret? It'll be when it comes out, it's going to be amazing because you'll see the videos pop up day after day, different people getting different reels. And like it was a good thing because like even I didn't know who the other guys were that got the figures. So even for me, I was like, oh my god, so and so's going, oh my god. And you're just seeing different people like Shartamus, and it felt like they were giving back to the community that helped build the communities. Like you've got all those YouTubers and influencers and Instagrammers, whatever you want to call us. But yeah, I like the fact that they gave back to like the people that have been buying their products and reviewing them for years. It was a nice way, and they seem to keep doing it. Obviously, Dan Who finally got to do one, and a couple of other guys. I think it's great that they're slowly going through the different people in the community. Yeah, and, like it would be very easy for them just to send everything to like Shartamus and Fwoosh because they've got the biggest audience. But I love the fact that they're sharing it out amongst some of like all of us. Basically, doesn't matter if your channel's got a small following, big following. Victoria's Cantina got to have a chat with the Hasbro guys about the Rancor and stuff, and she's not got the biggest following in the world, but she's really fun to watch. And I like the fact that Hasbro seem to have it definitely that they're not just after the big players; they're going after everyone that are in the community, and I like that. Just ran there, sorry.
No, it's nice.
That's it. And what's your number one, Ryan? What line have you picked for your number one?
It's not a line, but it is a joint.
Go on,
Right. And do you know what? They're not made by big companies. It's two
Stan Solo.
Stan Solo is one of them. R3M3. Just absolutely incredible. And the other one is Ephant Mon by the Next 17. Both brand new vintage figures. You'll be shocked to know because I don't know if you know this about me, but I quite like retro figures. I know. Please hold your paws. But I absolutely just the quality of these and the excitement and the joy of again. It almost took me back to when I was a kid. Me and my mum used to go out and try and find vintage figures at like boot sales or like trying to get the first listing in the Chronicle, or trying to just someone's brother's getting rid of his toys and he said you could have a look through them and stuff like it really took me back. And it sounds stupid because even though I'm in my 30s, the first thing I did when I got most of these was take a picture and send it to my mum and be like, Mum, look. But my mum gets just as equally excited. She's like, oh, that's so cool, blah blah blah. It's just like when we went and got this. And again, it's that thing. I am a very nostalgic collector, so to have something new, nostalgic, but also the thing that makes these really interesting and why they're my top figures is because they are made purely because someone loved them so much that they've gone themselves to set this whole thing up, design them, talk to a factory internationally, work out all the details, get things just right. The amount of work and love that goes into these is huge, and that's why they're my top figures of the year.
Nice.
R3M3, by the way, is that a Builder droid?
No, this is
are we sure? It looks very much like a Builder droid. Does his arms pop off?
No, this is a vintage R2D2 mold.
Isn't it?
Yeah, this is the.
It looks just like it looks like the ones that like the ones that I've been videoing recently, the little Christmas ones. It looks a lot like them.
It does look like that, but it's he's also done the third leg attachment, but they're all based on the pop-up R2D2 body mold. But yeah, the stickers are all high quality, just everything. It's a genuine vintage figure, but it does have that. You are right. I know which one you mean, but it does have that look to it on the video actually. Yeah,
nice.
There you go.
Good shout.
I kick off the movies for the years, so that because I feel like my movie of the year is going to be number one. It's going to be very disappointing for both of you because I haven't seen what I think probably would be my number one movie of the year. So,
all right then. So let's move on to the movie segment then. And Ryan, you can start us off with the movies.
in joint third.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You've not grasped this top three.
No. Oh, Mama said this is my magic shoes. Mama said take me anywhere.
Joint third.
My joint third is between Last Night in Soho and The Suicide Squad.
Oh. Okay.
Two really different but really interestingly good films. The Suicide Squad was something I had such low expectations of. And I've just realised I've actually done it the wrong way around. Bollocks. But anyway, okay, my number two is going to be different. But, so it was meant to be Suicide Squad and something else is number three. But anyway, Last Night in Soho, Edgar Wright, really interesting film, beautifully shot, had a real unexpected sort of twist. The cinematography, honestly, was just mind-blowing, along with the music. The use of music was just so clever. Suicide Squad, I had such low expectations, and then I laughed solidly for most of that film, and I could not take my eyes off it. It was so good. That's my joint third.
You know what? It's interesting because I really wanted to love Suicide Squad and I kind of hated it. Yeah. Don't do that here, camera. No, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. It didn't meet my expectations. I think because I didn't get to go and see it in the cinema, I had to wait for it to be on Sky Store, and I'd read so much good stuff about it. I had everything about it that people were raving about and that kind of stuff, that I think I'd built it up so much in my head that it didn't quite meet the hype, if that makes sense. It was good. Saying I hated it is very strong. I didn't hate it. It just didn't match my expectations, which I was really gutted for. That makes sense.
Well, you'll be glad to know that my number three is Suicide Squad.
Oh man.
For me, it was the fact that I went into that film and that opening scene where they just obliterate the entire cast. I loved that so much.
Genius.
And then they just completely brought all these new people in. I loved that so much. It was a genius way of doing it. And I don't know. I'm very thinking. I love Harley Quinn as a character in general. So it doesn't matter what she's in, as long as Margot Robbie continues to do, continues to do that character. I will literally watch any film she does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sold on that one just alone. Who's your third choice?
Cool. Okay, so my number three is not a Marvel film, surprisingly enough. I did have 3 Marvel films originally. But then I decided that there was actually a film out there that I really enjoyed, and that was Red Notice on Netflix. That was Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Gal Gadot. I just think that as actors, they're all really strong. They're all really enjoyable to watch, and so to have the 3 of them in it, it was just really enjoyable. Have you seen it? Have you guys watched it? Or
nope, not yet. I've seen it yet.
And there's a twist in it, and I didn't call it. That's the funniest thing, is I didn't call the twist. And that to me is good, that I'm enjoying a film if I didn't call the twist, if that makes sense. Yeah. Should that film have gone to the cinemas originally then? Because it seems like they're such big names to be on a Netflix thing. But I love the fact that it went to Netflix. I also love the fact that it went to Netflix. I don't know.
3 big names there. The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where, because it was the biggest Netflix opening of all time.
Ever.
So it was, yeah.
It will be M3.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was released direct to Netflix intentionally to beat certain records, or whether it was because of cinemas opening and closing up. I think a lot with 2020 and 2021, films kind of took sideways approaches, didn't they? There was a lot of films that went straight to streaming services and stuff. So I don't know whether it was kind of intentional planning or unintentionally planned or whatever, but it's a really good film. It's just a really good kind of, I don't know, it's comedic, it's it's action packed, it's mystery as well in there as well. So it's just a really good film. It's a really feel good film. So that's my number 3.
Nice. So my number 2, which was meant to be, Last Night in Soho was meant to be my number 2. And the one I'm about to say now, is meant to be joint number 3 with Suicide Squad, but it's Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City.
Okay.
it was very late. I only saw it obviously a couple of weeks ago, but it was again, I was sort of blown away by having low expectations, because you hear Resident Evil and film, and normally people go, "Oh no," as if you've just said, "Oh, Fast and the Furious 12." Zombie family. The thing about this one was like, it was just so good. It was exactly what I wanted out of the first two games. It was cleverly done. It was set in the 90s, which was always a win. It was fun. It was good, solid fun from start to finish. It's what I wanted from films ages ago. So like taking the best bits out of the two games and the first two films, which are the two most enjoyable ones out of the old film series. And yeah, I really, really hope that this does continue. I mean, unfortunately, it's a Resident Evil film, so naturally critics didn't like it, regardless. I think just before it came out, or any kind of video game adaptation. But I just thought it was great. The music was really cleverly used. Special effects were awesome. The kill count was sensible. They didn't go too far the other way and do the stupidly over the top thing. There were some really unexpected moments in it still, even though I know the two games very well. So yeah, that's my technically number 3 but 2.
Cool.
My number 2 was Halloween Kills. Evil Dies Tonight.
Oh.
Was a surprising film for me this year. I loved it. There wasn't many horror films this year, but that one again, it hit the nostalgic value factor for me. The first one they did in the series was awesome. This one I wasn't expecting big things from, because obviously we got the third film coming, so we all knew who was going to survive and continue on, but did not expect that ending. Such a good movie. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that again before the third film comes out. And yeah, definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it already.
Cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it yet, but I will. My number 2, unsurprisingly, is a Marvel film, and it is Chongqi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Just because I just think that it just did something new for the MCU, for Marvel. It had a very stylized look to it. It was very kind of true to itself about what it wanted to do, but it's also produced some really strong characters and actors playing characters, etc., for the MCU moving forward. I think when it was announced, I don't think many people kind of expected much, and I think a lot of people were pleasantly surprised. And yeah, so that's definitely my third pick. No, my second pick. Sorry,
Yeah.
My number 2.
For a minute, I thought it was your first, and I thought you were choosing Shang-Chi as your first. I thought, oh, he's having a joke. He's going to say Spider-Man. But then I realized actually, no, it's your second one. So
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is my number 2.
Nice. So time for my number 1, and you'll be surprised. I was also surprised that a Marvel film does not feature in my top films of the year, as much as there have been some cracking ones this year. My number 1 film of the year is actually Dune.
Ooh.
I love Dune. I love the story. I love the world and universe it's created, and I'm actually a big fan of the original film. I would love to see the original 8 billion hour cut version that never got released, but this had a lot to live up to. I mean, it had a stellar cast, which is always a good sign sometimes. Film 42 or whatever it's called will tell you otherwise, but it was just a cinematic wonder. When you watch something and you can suddenly feel yourself like your mouth open, just like when you're watching something, and you totally just completely forget everything else around you and you're just lost in it. A bit like watching Endgame, for example, like for the first time. It felt like that for me. I thought I was just suddenly in this big world. The music as well was incredible. Reminded me a little bit of Blade Runner 2049, or I can't remember, I think it's what it's called. But like, just the music, the way it looks, the performances, just all of it. I just absolutely just thought it was amazing. It was huge, and it was huge. That's the thing. There aren't many films that can make you feel like you're watching something huge, something massive, like big. It's like something bigger than you can even comprehend, but you're watching it, and that's what it felt like. So, Dune, my number 1 film of the year. It would have been Spider-Man probably if I'd seen Spider-Man, but I haven't, so it can't be.
You just know how good Spider-Man is to say that Spider-Man probably would have been my number 1, even though I've not seen it.
Let's be honest, it probably would have been. So I'll try and guess what your twos might be.
Well, I want to give, obviously, this is my number one. I obviously want to give Spider-Man the nod and say, yes, it's an amazing movie. It's brilliant. It does deserve a spot, but I'm not choosing it as my number one film of the year.
Wow.
It was a good film, and I don't want to underestimate because I can't say that, I can't say Suicide Squad was better than Spider-Man. I can't say Halloween Kills was better than Spider-Man. And even the film I've chosen my number one, I think Spider-Man was still, but it doesn't make my top three for what I thought were the three that I got the most pop from. I loved Spider-Man No Way Home. It was a great film. Don't get me wrong. It gets a good honorable mention. But for pure family, nostalgic value, sitting in the cinema with my father, watching it with my brother, Ghostbusters Afterlife hit everything that I wanted from that film. I went in with such low expectations because obviously we had the girls film. Yes, I liked it. The 2016 one was okay. Answer the call. I liked it. But after that film, I wasn't expecting the return of the three original old men, to be the best film of the year. And to be honest, I love the fact that they let the younger cast take the main part of the film. The main three only have a slight appearance in it. And it just hit so many nostalgic factors for me whilst telling a new story, but being familiar territory.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my film of the year.
Good shout.
Yeah, very good shout.
Yeah. Well, my number one
The Eternals.
obviously was the Eternals. No, don't knock it. Eternals is a good film, but
I loved it.
My number one is obviously Spider-Man No Way Home. I can't do a top three movies of the year and not put that at the top spot. It feels like a wasted use of a spot because it is such a good film. It was obviously, such a good film. But the reason
you are
why
the Spider fan, though. Let's be honest. That must have been very special for you.
It's the reason it's at the top is because it has basically pulled in for me and for a lot of fans 20 years worth of watching films, to bring back those original characters that obviously we saw in the trailers and stuff, and so much more that I'm not going to talk about because it's still fresh. It's still fresh, but there is so many levels to this film that it took me back 20 years to watching that first one, and the Green Goblin was just as menacing and just the same as he was all those years ago. But also as well, I think what it did for me was that, on more of a personal note, my son went back and rewatched those original ones with a little bit of prompting. Don't get me wrong, going, dude, you got 2 days to watch like 3 films, but it kind of brought my Spider-Man universe into his kind of focus area. But yeah, it just felt like the reward of 20 years worth of following Spider-Man movies across various different characters and story arcs and stuff. It was just beautifully done. I've seen it twice now, and there honestly wasn't a wasted line, a wasted scene, a wasted moment. It was just a very, very well written and very, very well executed film that is going to be very hard to beat when it comes to Spider-Man. It's set the bar very high for the next one. So I think it's put Marvel on notice, that film, to be honest.
Yeah. Because if this was Sony in collaboration with Marvel, I think for the next big MCU film, that has genuinely put that is a mountain to climb.
Yeah, it's like, people are comparing it to Endgame, but for me, this was bigger than Endgame for the reason that Endgame had so many different people coming into it. It was always going to be this huge film because it was a collaboration of everything that Marvel had done all into one place, whereas this was just Spider-Man.
Go on, sorry.
No, that's what I was going to say, that this was that solo character, and it hit the third biggest box office opening behind the 2 Avengers, Endgame and Infinity War. But yeah, that was so many characters. But yeah.
For me, I think I've said this on the channel probably before Ryan joined us. It was right back at the beginning when we first started talking. And I said the only way I think they could really bring X-Men into the fold of MCU is by acknowledging the past. And I would love to see Charles Xavier and Ian McKellen, Magneto, reprise their roles as in a scene where Cerebro is being demolished around them. Magneto's holding up the slabs above, Xavier's got the helmet on, and he sends out a warning through the multiverse, and the new Charles Xavier hears Patrick Stewart's voice. I think that would be an awesome way of like acknowledging the past but accepting the future. And that's what the new Spider-Man film does beautifully with those villains and stuff. It accepts the past and says, yeah, these films weren't the greatest back then, but these are your memories of the film, and you loved it as a kid. So we'll bring them through and, give that nod to the past and accept we're going to go forward now.
Yep.
That's where the Spider-Man film leads us, isn't it? It's like, what's next? So
100%.
If they could do that with X-Men, that'd be awesome.
100% agree. Well, that was a really varied list. We got a varied list of movies there.
Things would all be much more similar than they were.
Yeah, that was it. So that is our 2021 in review, I guess. So that is that's about all there is to say for this year. I mean, it's been a good year. I've enjoyed obviously collaborating with you gents on the Geek Week is in the Geek Week is in review. So it's not a court. It's not the Geek Week is not in review. The Geek Week in review. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, looking back at our show, we've had guests. We've had some guests that have popped up. We've had some good guests. We have a few more guests planned for the early part of 2022, with a few more in the works as well. So do keep your eyes on this space because we are going to pull in a few other people.
I'll just say before we sign out.
We're not going. It's all right. There's no rush.
Before we kind of bring it to a close, I want to
stay in 2021 as long as possible.
Yeah. I want to ask you, gents.
Go on.
What is your YouTuber channel, Instagram, or whatever? What are your plans going forward for next year? What's the one thing you want to try and do as like a resolution almost for your channel? What do you want to do next year?
To be perfectly honest with you, I just want to. This sounds like a real cheesy answer, but I just want to be able to continue doing what I'm doing the way that I've been doing it, because across various different social media, I have got people that have been quite loyal to following, and obviously Instagram, I've got quite a significant following there as well. But I'd just like to be able to carry on doing what I've been doing to the same kind of quality, and hopefully give people that have spent time kind of committing to following and subscribing and all the rest of it. That I just kind of keep that up. I don't want to drop the ball at all.
Nice.
Ryan?
That'd be mine.
I know you're kind of like new to the scene.
Maybe.
Any thoughts on the next year?
I do want to get more videos out. Like I said, I've really enjoyed coming into it this year. It's something I wanted to do for ages. And the thing is, me and Jake had done like stuff before, like many years ago. Unfortunately, just because of commitments and stuff, it didn't really go far. And then seeing Jake's stuff constantly, like I've always followed Jake's stuff still and seen his customs. I just thought, actually, this year when it was all going to rubbish, I thought I've got a lot of cool stuff I want to talk about, and I love doing this sort of thing. So I just thought, so that I'd do it. But I think next year I want to try and just get a bit more organized. I want to do some more collaborations with both yourselves, actually, like on different individual project stuff, because me and Jake have been talking about a Green Lantern video since I think the day we became friends. So I think I really would like to do that next year. I want to do Scale Wars with yourself, Ash, and I definitely want to do a Green Lantern with Jake. I think we should finally do it next year. But yeah, just to get stuff out more and just to make more. And keep doing the Geek Week in review. I love this. Yeah, I really love this.
What about yourself, Sorrell?
My plans for the next year, I want to go back to basics a little bit. I know it sounds a bit cheesy to say that, but like I've kind of messed around with my format and things and how I've done things, and I've not been happy for a little bit at the end of this year, to be honest. I've kind of lost my way a little bit, but I've got my fire back, and I want to go back to how I used to just do things in front of the camera, just being me, unboxing toys and being a daft sod. So I'm gonna go back to doing that, basically, just making the videos that made my channel kind of popular in the first place. I think there's so many people out there that do your Marvel Legends, your Black Series, but there's the people that follow me love the fact that I used to review like the silly, like the Captain Marvel doll that nobody else reviewed on the internet. The toy box, all the toy box line. I was like one of the first people to review the toy box series and keep a consecutive list of the videos in a playlist for everyone. So I want to do more stuff like that and go back to basics and do the toys that I kind of enjoy collecting that aren't really collectors' toys, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a bit of that next year, a bit more nostalgic fun.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds exciting. And
Hopefully
obviously,
maybe meet in person.
That would be fun.
that was funny enough. You know what I was going to say is I was like, let's get this Corona stuff out of the way, and I'd love to do a Geek Week special where we're actually all in the same place. That would be a lot of fun. And then we'll all realize we're like different heights and like sounding. This is too weird.
You're gonna get now. Actually, gonna have shoulder length hair, and no one's gonna realize it's just a ball cap I've been wearing this whole time.
Ryan's just got a filter on. He doesn't wear glasses, and his head is a bald. But no, that would be nice. But I would like to, obviously, I'd like to get a full year of the Geek Week in review. It'd be great if we can continue this. It seems to be, people are interested enough for us to carry it on. But to be perfectly honest with you, even if it was only one person watching, I enjoy the chats with you guys weekly anyway. So, and I think that's an important part of any of this stuff, that you've got to have that enjoyment. If it's not fun, then what's the point in doing it?
I get comments. I've started getting comments as soon as you don't upload it on time, Jacob. Oh, I get comments. Where's this week's episode of Geek Week in Review, Ash? I get the messages on Facebook.
To be honest, it's not actually my fault. I always upload it at the same time. Just sometimes YouTube takes like 24 hours for something to process, and I'm like, no, it's going to go past the 12 o'clock mark. So yeah, but no, I want to carry it on. It'd be great to be in this position this time next year and still be as motivated and still be enjoying doing this as much, because I don't think collaboration shows last as long as they should, on other channels and stuff. And I think collaboration videos are always good. So to have this weekly Geek Week in review, and we've got so much stuff coming next year. It's, the content is there. So it'd be great if we carry on this.
And do you know what I am looking forward to doing next year? It sounds stupid, but I am looking forward to catching up with you, gents. Hopefully, I'm going to be halfway around the world in Orlando, Florida, tuning in on my 4G. Hopefully having a bit more success than Ryan did earlier. And
that's the thing. You'll be halfway across the world and it will still be better than Ryan's internet.
You guys are going to be like, this time I would be in Galaxy's Edge right now with my headphones on, talking to you guys while riding the Millennium Falcon or something crazy.
That would be amazing. So watch this space. Providing all is good, we are going to have an episode in the future with
me and Jake just like this in the video window. Whoa!
No, that's cool. That's cool. So I guess that does bring our 2021 show to an official close. So for the last time of the year, I will say, please do like, share, subscribe, check out the details below for the gents details. And if you don't follow them already, make sure that you go give them a follow. But from me and obviously SuperSorrell and Ryan Speaks Geek, a huge thank you to everyone that supported the show this year. I hope that you all have a fantastic festive period and New Year period, etc. Which leaves me to say one last thing for one last time this year. You're going to join me with this? You're going to join me in saying it this time, Ryan? You look like you're ready. And Sorrell. So, all right then. So for the last time of 2021, thanks very much for watching. And
I freeze on that.
No, you're not. You're not.
What a time to freeze.
It was such a build-up. Right, for the last time in 2021 without Ryan freezing. 1, 2, 3. Thanks very much. Keep it geek.
Keep it geek.